In October of 2023, the crew of USS Carney fought off missiles and drones for 10 straight hours without a single break. And that wasn't even the hardest part of a 9-month deployment. So how do 300 sailors actually eat, sleep, and survive inside a 500-foot steel hull in the middle of the ocean? Hit subscribe and let's find out. Destroyers exist to escort carrier strike groups, amphibious ships, and supply convoys through some of the most contested waters on the planet, which means deployments can stretch on for months without a single trip back home. The concept itself goes back further than most people realize. The very first American destroyer, USS Bainbridge, entered service back in 1902, originally built just to hunt down torpedo boats, which is exactly why sailors called them torpedo boat destroyers. By World War I, that name had already been shortened to simply destroyer, and the role kept expanding from there until these ships became the most widely used warship class on Earth. So where do you actually put 300 people who are living on a ship that's just over 500 feet long? Not in bedrooms and not even in bunks the way you're picturing. Sailors sleep in what the Navy calls racks, which are really just wall-mounted beds stacked in tight rows with barely enough clearance to sit up straight. Privacy comes down to one small curtain you pull across your face, and that's the entire boundary between you and 200 other people living just a few feet away. Every rack has a built-in storage cubby for whatever a sailor can't live without, and the Navy actually allows something surprisingly personal inside that space. An 8 by 11-inch photo of family, a dog, a cat, whatever keeps someone sane after months away from home. In some of the female berthing compartments aboard an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, you'll find 24 racks packed into a single space, sharing just 3 sinks, 1 shower, and 2 toilets between all of them. Think about that for a second. Sailors go from running a professional watch rotation on million-dollar radar and weapons systems straight into pajamas and a shared bathroom, all within 200 feet of walking distance. And here's the detail that catches people off guard every time. Every sailor is issued an emergency escape breathing device right next to their rack, a small unit that provides about 15 minutes of breathable air if smoke or fire ever fills the space while they're trying to get out. 15 minutes to find your way topside through pitch black smoke, and it's just sitting there quietly while you sleep every single night. There are even straps built into the rack frame to keep sailors from rolling out during rough seas because the ship never actually stops moving beneath them, not even for a moment. So with all of that, cramped quarters, minimal privacy, an emergency device parked right next to your pillow, you'd expect sleep to be miserable out there. But almost every sailor says the exact opposite. The constant rocking of the hull, moving through open water, ends up producing some of the deepest sleep they've ever experienced. And even a short 3 or 4 hour stretch between watches can feel like the best rest of their entire lives. But sleeping is only one piece of surviving 9 months at sea. What happens when 300 people who just crawled out of that rack need to eat, stay in shape, and keep their sanity intact for months on end? 3 times a day, every single day, the ship's culinary specialists have to put out hot meals for the entire crew, regardless of what the weather is doing outside the hull. That sounds simple until you hear what the job actually demands. Sailors who've done it describe managing inventory almost like running a small business, tracking exactly what's on board and how long it has to last, while also training in damage control and firefighting right alongside everyone else on the ship. Cooking turns out to be just one piece of the job, and the quality of that food matters far more than you'd think, because after months at sea, a good meal is one of the only things standing between a crew and rock-bottom morale. Every Arleigh Burke-class destroyer also carries a gym on board, though calling it spacious would be generous. It's small, it's almost always crowded, and sailors have to work around each other's watch schedules just to get a turn on the equipment. But skipping it isn't really an option because when you're operating complex weapons and sensor systems around the clock, staying physically sharp is part of the job, not an afterthought squeezed in during free time. Now, here's something almost nobody thinks about until they're actually living it. The ocean doesn't care about anyone's schedule, and a destroyer rolls constantly, especially in rough water. Sailors describe sudden waves of vertigo where their mind almost flips for a second before they catch their balance again. In genuinely rough seas, people end up walking sideways, practically leaning into the walls just to stay upright. And some sailors keep motion sickness medication in their pocket at all times because the rocking can get that intense out on open water. Eventually, almost everyone develops what they call their sea legs, an adjustment where the constant motion just fades into background noise. They stop registering entirely. Some sailors say they barely notice the sway at all anymore, right up until the ship hits genuinely rough water, and then it hits back hard. So sailors are eating, working out, and fighting off seasickness, all while running specialist jobs and standing watch on top of it. But what happens when the ship stops rocking because of the ocean and starts shaking because something has gone seriously wrong on board instead? Of every emergency a destroyer crew trains for, fire might be the one that keeps people up at night, and for good reason. These ships are already packed tight with people and equipment, and on top of that, they're loaded with fuel and live munitions from bow to stern. There's nowhere to run and nowhere to escape to except open ocean stretching in every direction, so the moment a fire actually breaks out, the entire ship reacts within seconds. General quarters sounds over the intercom, and every sailor, no matter their job title, moves straight to their assigned station without hesitation. Firefighting teams suit up in heavy protective gear and move directly toward the danger with extinguishers and hoses, while thermal imaging cameras become essential because smoke trapped inside a sealed steel hull can drop visibility to absolute zero within moments. You could be standing 3 feet from another sailor and not see them at all. This isn't just a drill scenario dreamed up on paper. In October of 2000, the destroyer USS Cole was refueling in the port of Aden in Yemen when a small boat loaded with explosives pulled up alongside the hull and detonated. The blast tore a massive hole straight through the ship's side. 17 sailors were killed, dozens more were wounded, and the ship was left burning and taking on water in a foreign harbor thousands of miles from home. But Cole didn't sink. The same damage control training and compartmentalized design that every crew drills on constantly kept the ship afloat long enough to stabilize it, repair it, and send it right back out to sea within a year. If a hole torn open by something as small as a fishing boat can still leave a warship sailing today, that tells you everything about why crews treat fire drills with the same seriousness as actual combat. There's no fire department coming to help out here. You are the fire department floating in the middle of the ocean, hundreds of miles from the nearest port, and everyone on board knows it. So, if fire is the danger crews train for every single day, what actually keeps the ship functioning, fighting, and flying on the good days when nothing's going wrong at all? Every one of those weapon systems you hear about in the news isn't just sitting there on its own. It takes actual sailors working shifts to keep it ready every hour of every day. Take the Mark 45 deck gun, capable of firing 16 to 20 rounds a minute out to nearly 20 nautical miles. It sounds fully automated, and it mostly is, but it still takes a 6-person crew working below deck just to keep that gun fed with ammunition during a sustained engagement. Get too slow, and the gun goes quiet at exactly the wrong moment. Then there's the phalanx system, a fast-firing autocannon built specifically to shred incoming small boats or fast attack craft before they ever get close enough to do damage. And underneath the deck entirely, the ship carries the Mark 41 vertical launch system capable of firing more than a dozen different types of munitions, from Tomahawk cruise missiles to decoys out of individual cells controlled by a central computer. Ordnance, for its technicians, are the ones actually responsible for keeping those cells loaded and ready. And it's not glamorous work, but miss a step there and the entire ship's offense goes down with it. Torpedoes get their moment too, mostly during exercises like the surface warfare advanced tactical training conducted out in the Philippine Sea, where sailors aboard ships like USS Ralph Johnson load and fire torpedoes as part of live anti-submarine drills. These exercises exist for one reason: keeping crews sharp enough that when a real threat shows up, nobody's fumbling through a process they've only read about. And tying every single one of these systems together is the Aegis Combat System, running out of the ship's Combat Information Center, where radar data, weapons, and sensors all feed into one automated network. Up on the bridge, quartermasters work the chart table plotting the ship's course. A conning officer relays direction to a helmsman standing at an actual steering wheel, and everyone up there is watching the same radar screens the Aegis system feeds in real time. This is exactly the setup that let ships like USS Carney track and intercept more than 50 separate threats during that single Red Sea deployment. Missiles, drones, and everything in between, without the crew ever losing the picture of what was actually happening around them. So between weapons crews, bridge watches, and constant tracking on the radar, who actually keeps this entire machine running day after day without falling apart? Behind every capability the ship has, there's a specific sailor whose entire job is making sure it works, and together, gunner's mates, electrician's mates, sonar technicians, and damage control specialists form something closer to a family than a workplace. In a space this tight, everyone's survival genuinely depends on everyone else doing their job right, every single day without exception. Away from the excitement, most days actually come down to maintenance, and it never really stops. Aboard destroyers like USS O'Kane, crews inspect propulsion systems, radar, weapons, and electronics daily, lubricate moving parts, update software, and repaint exposed lifelines and deck fittings to fight off corrosion from constant exposure to salt water and air. It's repetitive, it's not glamorous, but it's also where discipline gets built into a crew this size, because sloppy maintenance on a ship like this doesn't just mean a delay, it means real risk to everyone on board. Roughly every 2 years, the ship needs something maintenance alone can't provide: a full trip into dry dock. The ship gets guided into a massive channel, the water gets pumped out completely, and for the first time in 2 years, the entire hull below the waterline sits exposed to open air. Engineers get access to propellers, shafts, and structural components that are normally impossible to inspect, cleaning, repainting, and repairing anything that's been quietly wearing down underwater the whole time. Considering a ship like this is worth close to $2 billion, letting saltwater corrosion slowly eat away at the hull simply isn't an option. Once everything checks out, the channel floods again, the gates open, and the destroyer heads right back into open water like nothing ever happened. And every bit of this, the maintenance, the drills, the weapons crews, the friendships built in cramped berthing compartments, gets tested for real out in the field. Just recently, the United States sent its largest naval buildup to the Middle East in more than 2 decades, worth an estimated $50 billion combined, and 9 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers were part of that force, standing ready to intercept ballistic missiles and defend other ships from air and sea threats at a moment's notice. Every sailor on those ships had already lived through exactly what you just watched: the racks, the chow lines, the fire drills, the maintenance checks, long before a single missile was ever in the air. That's really the whole picture. Every rack, every meal, every fire drill, every maintenance check exists so that when a moment like USS Carney's 10-hour battle in the Red Sea actually happens, the crew is ready without even having to think about it. The routine you just watched isn't background noise. It's the exact reason these ships and the people living inside them make it home. That's what life aboard a destroyer really looks like. Hundreds of sailors turning a cramped steel hull into a working home ready for anything the ocean or an enemy throws at them. If this gave you a new respect for the crews keeping these ships running, hit subscribe. We've got more stories like this every week.